When you first look at a city like Lancaster, you see this beautiful, historic place right in the heart of Lancashire. Grand stone buildings, a river winding its way to the sea. It's picturesque. But if you dig just a little bit beneath that surface, wow, you find a story that is so much more complex. A story that's layered with incredible wealth, but also with deep tragedy and a really dark reputation that's followed it for centuries. Yeah, the hanging town. That's not exactly a welcoming tourist slogan, is it? It just feels so at odds with all the charming streets and that beautiful skyline. So how on earth does a place that looks like this end up with a nickname that grim? And that's the big question we're going to tackle. We're going to peel back the layers of Lancaster's history, kind of like an onion, to see how its stunning architecture, its hidden sources of wealth, and these incredible stories of justice and injustice are all connected, literally etched into the city's stones. Okay, so let's start with what you can actually see, the first and most obvious layer, the architecture. And we're not just talking about old buildings here. No way. These are monuments to power, to faith, and to commerce that have dominated the skyline for hundreds of years. Just look at this lineup. You've got the immense Lancaster Castle, a fortress, a court, and a prison for 1,000 years. Right next door, the gorgeous Priory Church. Then you go down to the river and see the elegant Georgian buildings of St. George's Quay. And then, looking down on it all, you have the Ashton Memorial, this kind of crazy over-the-top structure. Altogether, the picture it paints is one of serious power and a whole lot of money, which, of course, begs the question. Yeah, where did all that cash come from? Especially for that big boom in Georgian building back in the 18th century. Well, the answer reveals a really deep and, frankly, uncomfortable truth about Lancaster's past. To get it, we have to look at the engines that were driving Lancaster's economy. And it's really a tale of two completely different booms, about a century apart, that shaped the city in profoundly different ways. And this lays it out, plain and simple. In the 1700s, Lancaster's golden age was tragically bankrolled by the transatlantic slave trade. It became the fourth busiest port for that horrific trade in the entire UK. Then, 100 years later, the city's wealth came from something else entirely: linoleum. The Williamson family built such a massive industry that Lancaster was literally nicknamed Lino City. So here's the crucial link. When we're admiring those beautiful Georgian buildings down by the water, we are looking at structures paid for by the profits from trafficking human beings. The mahogany for the famous furniture, the sugar, the cotton, it all came through that port. That dark history isn't just in books. It's built right into the walls. But the city's dark reputation wasn't just about money. To really understand that grim nickname, we have to go back even further. Long before the slaving ships, Lancaster's reputation was being forged in fear and superstition, most famously with the Pendle witch trials of 1612, one of the most notorious witch hunts in English history. And this whole tragic saga played out right there in Lancaster. The accused were rounded up, thrown into the castle's dungeons, and then tried in Shire Hall, which, get this, is still a working courtroom today. Just imagine that. And from there, they were led up to the moors overlooking the town to be hanged. 10 people executed from just that one trial. One of the accused, an old woman named Demdike, actually died in the dungeons before she even made it to trial. This single horrifying event seared Lancaster into the nation's memory as a place of severe, deadly justice. But the Pendle witches, as famous as they are, were just the tip of the iceberg. This quote gets right to the heart of it. The courts at Lancaster Castle, known as the assizes, were just notoriously harsh. For centuries, they sent a staggering number of people to the gallows, more than any other court in the country apart from London. That, right there, is how you become the hanging town. So with a history this packed with drama and tragedy, you can probably guess what comes next, right? Ghost stories. Lots of them. It's like the city's past is so intense, it couldn't just stay in the history books. Some say it never really left at all. And these stories are everywhere. In the castle, people talk about being pushed by unseen hands or hearing the ghost of old Demdike still wandering the dungeons. At the Golden Lion pub, where condemned prisoners supposedly had their last drink, people say the spirits of the executed still linger. Even the Grand Theater has a resident ghost, an actress, forever taking her curtain call. These legends are the city's history, just told in whispers. Okay, so we've looked at the buildings, the money, and the legends. But what about the actual people behind it all? To really get a feel for Lancaster, you've got to look at the powerful, creative, and sometimes pretty controversial figures who shaped its destiny. First, you have to talk about John of Gaunt. This guy was a medieval superstar, the son of a king and one of the most powerful men in Europe. He's the one who poured money into Lancaster Castle, turning it into his northern fortress. And here's a crazy fact. The estate he founded, the Duchy of Lancaster, is still around today and provides a private income for the reigning monarch. That's one heck of a legacy. Now, for a figure who really embodies the city's commercial complexity, look no further than Robert Gillow. He started out by importing mahogany that came through the slave trade routes, but then he used that wood to create one of the most famous and respected furniture companies in the world. His story really captures that pivot from the raw, tragic profits of trade to world-class craftsmanship. And then there's Lord Ashton, the Lino King. He was the man behind that second industrial boom we talked about, an incredibly wealthy philanthropist who gave the city the Ashton Memorial and the Town Hall. But he was also known for being a very private, difficult man who clashed with the very city he was funding. His legacy is literally set in stone, but the story of the man himself is much more complicated. And that's what's so cool about Lancaster. This quote just nails it. The city isn't some dusty museum piece. The Roman ruins, the Georgian homes built on tragic wealth, the court that condemned witches, the industrialists' grand gestures. It's all still there, part of a living, breathing conversation between the past and the present. So it makes you think, doesn't it? The next time you're walking through an old town, maybe even your own, take a closer look at the buildings. Ask yourself, where did the money come from to build this? Whose stories are being told here, and whose have been forgotten? Because every town has a story to tell, if you just know how to listen to the stones.